Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365, with your daily update for, what is it, Thursday, August 19th? Does that sound right? So today, let's the state DHS released some new data that they're going to continue to update every month. That basically shows us the efficacy of vaccines. We'll get to that in a minute, but first we're going to talk about our statewide data for today, which continues to look, not good. Um, Today we're reporting 1,569 new cases. That's the most we've had this week, which is typical, right? There's less testing, less paperwork done over the weekend. So Monday is low, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are high. So 1,569 new cases today on a Thursday. That brings our 7-day average to 1,223, which that's the highest that's been since the end of January. The last time it was higher than that was January 31st. Also, not so good positive test rate. That's the percentage of positives or percentage of tests in the past 7 days that return a positive result. That's at 6.9% today. That was 6.7 yesterday. We had, for a second there, we thought it was doing well. It was, back early August, a couple weeks ago, it was like 7.6, 7.7. It has kind of been hovering right around 7 for the past week or so. Kind of oscillated from 7.2 to 6.9. It was dipped to 6.7 yesterday. I thought maybe it was on a downward trajectory. It's not. It's back up to 6.9 again, just hovering around 7, right? Hovering is better than going up, okay? Especially considering how quickly it was going up before. Between, middle of June, it was like 1.0, right? And then it just took a sharp turn in the middle of July and went from 1.7 to 7.6 over the course of that month. Not good at all. Again, that number needs to be below 3, right? That's the goal. And it was under 3 for a long time. Back last year, remember when New York City opened the schools? They said if their positive test rate gets up to 3, we got to close the schools again. Then it got up to 3 and they changed their mind because they didn't really want to close schools again. But 3 is kind of the cutoff of where you can, where public health folks will tell you 3.0 is where you can be like, okay, we have it under control. 6.9 means we do not right now have it under control. So that's not great. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, we had a lot of good questions yesterday. Feel free to drop them in the comments. It takes about 30 seconds for them to show up on my screen. But drop any questions you have or any comments into the comments wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. A couple other numbers today. Our death toll is now 7,503. We're past 7,500. We have 3 new confirmed deaths yesterday. That puts our 7-day average at 5, which is actually down a little bit. That was 6 yesterday, right? We had 16 deaths 2 days ago and 12 deaths the day before that. So we're, well over, we're just past 30 deaths just in the past 3 or 4 days. But over the past 7 days, we're at like 35 deaths in the past 7 days. And, which gives us an average of 5 per day, which will continue to rise, most likely. Now, the one other number that has just a bit of good news to it is hospitalizations, which is not good enough news to really breathe a sigh of relief yet, but it's just at least we didn't go up today. The total number of people who are currently hospitalized went down by 15. So it's now 712. So that's 15 fewer than yesterday, but still 112 more than a week ago, right? 7 days ago, the total hospitalized population with COVID-19 infection was 600. Today it's 712. So, a 1-day slight decline. That's good news in the sense that it's not bad news, but you need to see several days of that before I feel actually better about it. The intensive care unit population is back up by 1, so 222 people currently in ICU beds across the state due to COVID infection. That's up 1 from yesterday and up 44 from a week ago. Right, so that's about a 20% increase over the past week in just intensive care unit beds. Intensive care unit is not the place you want to be with COVID, right? That likely means you're on a ventilator. There's a reasonable chance you won't make it. So again, overall hospitalizations slightly better today, but just today. We can't call that a trend yet, but at least it didn't get worse today. And once again, deaths a little bit down, but not much, and overall cases very high. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this vaccine data. If you go to Madison365.org, it's right there on the front page of the website right now. If you want to dig into it a little bit, there's not a lot of data, and I unfortunately do not have it in a form that's like interactive, particularly, which is fine because there's not that much to it actually. But I want to show you this. This is this is based on state DHS data, and if you want, I can just kind of talk through the actual numbers. But the blue is cases among vaccinated people, and the red is cases among unvaccinated people. Now, let me say a word about this data. It is cases per 100,000 people, right? So in February, the only by February 1st, right? Only like 2% of us were vaccinated. Right? It was very limited eligibility at that point. So there were, fewer than 100,000 people even vaccinated at that point, right? But of those, statistically speaking, there were 56.6 cases among that tiny. If you extrapolate it out, 56.6 cases per 100,000 people who are vaccinated. Even though there were fewer than 100,000 people vaccinated, it was just that's the small number of cases. Meanwhile, the rest of the state, the other 98% that weren't vaccinated, it was 385.8 cases per 100,000 people over the month of February. So that's how it works. So that now that there's almost by July 1st, there were almost half the state was vaccinated, but it's still apples to apples comparison because you're comparing a rate, not a number, right? I hope that makes sense. So we'll go back to this graph here. Again, you see a nice dip in cases in June among both groups. We kind of peak in April, we fall in May and June, and then we are back up in July, and August will certainly be higher than this. Right? Now, the state is going to publish this monthly on the 15th of each month. So come September 15th, we'll add a column here for August, and August will certainly be higher than July. Will very likely be higher than April in both cases, vaccinated and unvaccinated. But you can see the primary purpose of showing this graph here is that the vaccine works. You are basically in July, if you look at just July, you're about 3 times as likely to be infected if you're not vaccinated. We also know that if you are vaccinated and you test positive, if you're one of those, unfortunate few who test positive, you are contagious, but for a shorter period of time, right? If you're latest I heard, and again, this is like kind of preliminary data, but at a national level, the data tells us that if you're vaccinated, you have the same amount of virus in your nose and in your throat as an unvaccinated person if you get infected, which obviously you're 3 times less likely to be infected. But on the rare chance that you do get infected, you have the same amount of virus in you as an unvaccinated person, and therefore you're just as contagious as that unvaccinated person, but only for about 5 days because your immune system, your vaccination, kicks into gear and expels that virus from you within about a 5-day period, whereas the unvaccinated person takes much longer and is therefore contagious for much longer, and therefore will spread it to more people than a vaccinated person would. Okay. Now let's look at also some other measures, which that we've already said that that the vaccine doesn't guarantee you won't get sick, but it almost does guarantee that you won't be hospitalized and you won't die. So let's look at hospitalizations. Similar numbers, actually a greater disparity. The hospitalizations per 100,000 people among the vaccinated population is this yellow graph here. And among the unvaccinated population is the green. You're in July now, you're 3.7 times more likely to be hospitalized if you are vaccinated. There's a 3. If you're 3.7 more times more likely to be hospitalized if you're unvaccinated. Sorry, I forgot which direction I was going there halfway through the sentence. And you can see in April and May the disparity is even bigger. I didn't do the math on those, but obviously those are like closer to 4 times as likely to be hospitalized if you're unvaccinated back in April and May. Finally, deaths. You can see February among the vaccinated population, there were literally 0 deaths in February among vaccinated people. A very small number. In July, there was 1.1 death per. No, I'm sorry, 0.1 death per 100,000 people if you're vaccinated, and it was 1.1 deaths per 100,000 people if you're unvaccinated. And here's a better representation of that. This is just July. I'm going to get my little graphic over here so you can see this whole thing better. So you got the light blue are the cases. These are among the vaccinated population here. They have 125 cases per 100,000 people. Oops, sorry. And then 4.9 hospitalizations per 100,000 people and 0.1 deaths among vaccinated population. Among unvaccinated population, 370 cases almost, 18.2 hospitalizations and 1.1 deaths per 100,000 people. Now, I like this data because I don't like this data. This data is not good news, really, because we still have a lot of unvaccinated people, right? But the reason I like this representation of this data, because it's on both sides, on the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. You're talking about the entire population, not just the population that has tested positive. Because we've been moving the goalposts in the media. We talked about the percentage of people who got infected pre-vaccine. You're talking about a percentage of people who test positive who get hospitalized. But then in a lot of the media, they've been then shifting it to a certain percentage of the entire population of vaccinated people are hospitalized. You see the difference there between the infected population versus the entire population, and that in a way that makes a stronger case for vaccine, which I want to do, but it also is a little bit disingenuous, which I don't like. But this data compares apples to apples between vaccinated and unvaccinated, and it's talking about the entire population. So of all vaccinated people in Wisconsin in July, 1.1 people per 100,000 died from COVID infection. That's of the unvaccinated population. And of all of the half of the state that was not vaccinated, whether or not whoever, a lot of people get it and never get tested, that kind of stuff. But of those entire population of unvaccinated people, 1.1 people out of every 100,000 died from COVID. 1 person per million vaccinated died from COVID during that same period of time, during July. Not just 1% of the infected or 0.1% of the infected or whatever like that. 0.1 people per 100,000 people, which also translates to 1 out of a million, died of COVID of the entire vaccinated population. 1 in a million versus 10 in a million. You are 10 times more likely to die from COVID if you're unvaccinated. Not if you're unvaccinated and catch it, right? If you're just unvaccinated and then just go about your life, you're 10 times more likely to die from COVID than if you get vaccinated and just go about your life. 10 times. Should I say that one more time? If you're unvaccinated, you're 10 times more likely to die from COVID than if you're vaccinated. I want to get like a t-shirt that says that and just wear it around. It's just like so simple. So if there's no questions, that's basically what I have for you today. We're going to take a short pause, and we're going to come back for Madison played last night. They have to. They needed a win to jump into third place, and did they get it? If you saw the site this morning, you know the answer. I don't want to spoil it for you. We'll be right back after this. Don't scroll away. If you like soccer, don't scroll away. Or if you have any questions, we can come back to questions too. Drop them in the comments. But we'll be back right after this. Don't scroll away.
I wasn't sure if it was the right time.
Then I heard about the college try.
You take classes for 7 days, see if it works for you.
No obligation, no worries. I kept going. I'm so glad I did.
I wanted to do online classes, but I didn't have a computer. The Madison College hooked me up.
You can borrow a college laptop and a Wi-Fi hotspot.
Seriously.
My dad always says, give it the old college try.
For real, give Madison College the college try.
Try Madison College risk-free for 7 days.
No commitment.
Just try it.
Like a free trial for college.
Like, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you?
All right, we are back, and it was a big game last night. And Andrew Schmidt, president of the flock, has sighed in the comments because he knows what's coming. We're gonna pick it up here in the 11th minute of the match last night.
Munoz,
and I'm gonna,
they're trying to change the script here as Gomez's ball swings inside.
Turn this down a little bit so I can talk over this. Aaron Malloy.
Malloy with the shot and rockets into the back left corner.
What can you say about this
Aaron
kid?
Malloy does it again.
He plays a wonderfully defensive midfielder. That's his third goal of the season. He had 2 in one game not too long ago.
He can only shoot rockets.
But the clearance is not good enough from Toronto FC. As you can see, the nice cross in here, but the clearance comes right to Malloy. Look at this, beautiful. Popped it up over defender, just hammers it on the half volley. Nothing like the goalkeeper could do about that. We got to see it one more time. This is going to be a candidate for goal of the week for sure. Make sure you vote for it. I was standing right behind the goal when that went in. It was awesome. But it didn't. We didn't keep the lead for very long, unfortunately.
Maybe at times has been bound down by his position
Now,
as the holding midfielder.
3 points last night would have launched Madison into third place on the table. So, and they knew that. And this is the first time they played Toronto since 2019, by the way. Toronto did not play last year because of COVID. Having to go back and forth from Canada.
In the middle for Goldberg.
But that was a defensive lapse. After the match, Carl Craig called that goal just stupid.
Gets his first goal of the season. The timing may have just been right.
But it was a nice. Keep an eye. Put a pin in this one because you're going to see something very similar.
All-time run from Altobelli.
I think Andrew is not wrong. Watch this. Look at this.
Derek Gebhardt into the 18, squares to the middle.
I said you're going to look at that and see it similar. Just 5 minutes into the second half,
Just 5 minutes
a
after
huge
the whistle,
ball over the top from the center
Derek
circle
Gebhardt
from Justin Suko.
gets his
And
third
I got to tell you,
goal of the season.
having
Correct
played a little
myself
soccer in
there.
my life, the way
Look at
Derek
this
Gebhardt
replay
collects
here.
this
It's a
ball, watch
long
this.
ball supplied by Justin
But he brings it
Suko.
down on his foot, going forward,
Taps it
completely
down.
controls it on a 40-yard pass, and just hammers it home
Keep it with Toronto.
on that steep angle.
Here's Carlini
Absolute class,
with the purpose.
undoubtedly.
With the shot off the
Another
post.
defensive lapse here. Mingos get away with it as it clangs off the
Toronto
post.
denied by the woodwork.
And then
Gets it laid off to him.
we'll take another look at that opportunity. It actually wasn't as much of a defensive lapse as just a nice play. But this is a defensive lapse here in the 85th minute. Trying to see this out. 5 minutes to play. A little confusion on who's supposed to be covering that corner.
Here's Franklin again.
And allows him to get the cross in and
Shot
leaves
goes on target! And Toronto level. 5 minutes to go.
Kobe Franklin. Sorry, I couldn't remember his name. I was trying to say Kobe Bryant. It wasn't.
Franklin.
It's Kobe Franklin, not Kobe Bryant.
The artist
Kobe
at
Franklin
the back of
left
the
all
net.
alone on top of the
Gets
box.
his first goal of the season.
A couple guys get caught ball watching a little bit, and
That's a great
that
goal in
hurts.
this game.
And it is a 2-2 draw to finish. That does move Madison up the table.
And And there's your final whistle.
into 5th.
A well-fought matchup.
Sort of tied for 5th with 3 other teams, but they're ahead on goal differential, right? And Andrew is absolutely right. Aaron Malloy, coming here from Ireland, Derek Gebhardt, who played with the club last year, but has no, he didn't. Did he play for the club last year? Am I thinking of Fusan? I know Fusan was last year. But he's got that championship level, USL championship experience. But I think you're right. If the rest of the team doesn't come through, several of those guys might be. I don't know if you keep Jesus Perez, you keep Fusan. If we can't finish the deal. So anyway, that was it was fun. It was a very entertaining match for the most part. Madison had 17 shots, 9 of them on goal, and Andres Vaikla, who's the Toronto goalkeeper, was absolutely outstanding. Carl Craig, the coach, even said after the match, like a lot of those weren't bad strikes, weren't bad shots. They were outstanding goalkeeping. So Vaikla kept Toronto in the match, and then Madison's defense let them tie it up. All right, that's all I have for you today. Madison has another match on Saturday, hosting North Texas. That's another big one. They could jump up the table a little more if they can get 3 points out of North Texas. Last time they played North Texas in Arlington, they lost 4-1. I don't anticipate that happening again, but we'll see. It'll be a tough one either way. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you take care of yourself. Mask up. It's now required, as of today, it's required in Dane County to mask up indoors. So don't forget that. And enjoy your evening. We'll be back here tomorrow. Talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.